Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk about some weapons that were well meant, but maybe not well executed.
Yeah, Johnny, these are, I'm just going to go ahead and say these are all really pretty stupid weapons of World War II that the Allies attempted to implement throughout the war. Some have a little bit better idea behind them than others, but for the most part, they're, colossal failures.
Well, it's one of those situations, I think, where you just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of that going on in World War II. We're trying to defeat the Nazis and figure out how the best do it. Whatever works, screw it. Let's do it.
Well, so what was the first attempt?
So our first attempt that we had is what's called the sticky bomb, which is developed by the British Army.
Like in Halo?
Yeah, well, you know what? Very much like in Halo, which unlike in Halo, that was my favorite weapon to use.
Oh, that's excellent.
No, I was so great at it. This didn't quite work out in reality the way that it does in Halo. So,
but obviously, it's a good thought because they're pursuing it in a video game later.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the official designation, and this is also not to be confused with the sticky bombs that they used in Saving Private Ryan. Completely different things. So the official designation is the Grenade Hand Anti-Tank number 74, which makes me concerned that there were 74 attempts at this before actually getting anything accomplished.
That shows me as a consumer that they really put their time and thought into the final product. You don't want version 0.6, you want version 1.0 or 2.0.
Or in this case, version 74.
That's got to be a really good sticky bomb by that time.
It's got to be great, yep. The other designation is the ST Grenade, or just sticky bomb for short. It was, in fact, utilized by the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and the French Resistance was given a bunch of these. So, way to go, French Resistance. It was developed in 1940. Well, they were... Yeah, that's another topic for another day, Johnny, because the French Resistance is a kind of a joke in most...
It's a nice thing to say that they resisted anything at all.
They... Spoiler alert, they did fight us a couple of times. Like, we actually fought French forces during World War II, but don't worry, they were always our ally.
That's right.
Don't let modern times deceive you here. So it was developed in 1940 by a man named Stuart Macrae, or Macrae. That's Macrae. If you guys haven't figured out by now, I am shit at pronouncing people's names. It was developed in what's called the MD1, or the Ministry of Defense 1, which is also known as Churchill's Toy Shop. So
this is where they're throwing all their ideas at a wall and hoping something sticks.
R&D shop, yep. So this is Churchill's, pet project. Let's come up with some, experimental weapons or some wonder weapons that'll win us the war. At a later date, we will do the German or Axis allied, Axis powers weapons, but
I imagine they were less humane, maybe.
They were as equally stupid and ridiculous and not humane as well. So the grenade is going to be an ad hoc response to England's lack of anti-tank weapons at the start of the war, which just boggles the mind. It's in World War I, they were the first to come up with a tank, but by World War II, it's like, we don't need any anti-tank weapons. That whole tank thing's a thing of the past.
Like, guys, we already did the World War.
Yeah, we don't.
Why do we need to do this again?
Yeah, we don't need anything else. So what it is, it's a grenade consisted of a glass sphere. So the explosive is inside a glass sphere, and that contains the explosive, which is Nobel's number 823, or basically just nitroglycerin for short. I mean, it's just a very unstable. You shake it too hard, and it's going to explode. Yeah. We already see some maybe bad ideas with this. The glass sphere is then encoded in a very strong adhesive and then covered in a metal casing.
How about why the glass then?
So that it would break when it was thrown and stick to the object. And basically, it's kind of like an early napalm-ish of sorts. But the idea is a very high explosive.
With a sheet metal anyway? All right.
Well, the sheet metal is so that it doesn't, you use that before you're ready for the grenade.
Oh, that's
so
like
you take the sheet metal coating off.
Carrying case is a sheet metal
exactly.
Case.
Carrying case is sheet metal.
And then you
you huck that at whatever you want to huck it at. And it's your anti-tank. The grenade itself weighed 2.25 pounds, with 1.25 pounds being the explosive itself.
But if Halo is anything to indicate, that's the perfect weight that you can launch it entirely across a map.
Yes. Unfortunately, you're not launching this entirely across a map. So you activate this by removing the outer metal shell, like we discussed. You release a lever, which activates the 5-second fuse. So you got 5 seconds.
The 5-second fuse?
5-second fuse. Well, most of the grenades at the time were like 3 to 5 seconds. Pull the pin, huck it. You got about 3 to 5 seconds for it to blow up.
Sticky stuff on it.
Yeah, so you're going to have to be close to whatever you want to put this on or huck it at. And then you got about 5 seconds to get the fuck out.
All right. Oh, okay.
You're already seeing some problems with this, Johnny.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know.
So the idea of this is that the soldier would either throw it at an approaching tank or run up to the tank, attach the grenade, pull the pin, and run the fuck away.
So, okay, just run up to an enemy tank.
Yeah, run up to an enemy tank,
just
like to the side of it.
Stick
the grenade on the side of it, preferably on the tracks, because that's the weakest point. Disable the track, tank stops.
And obviously, you will be taking no fire from enemy forces during your... what the hell kind of mission is that? That's insane.
It sounds very much like the Russians' attempt at any kind of weapons during World War II. So during the testing, the following issues were noted, which we've already started talking about some of them. The sticky coating would not actually stick to any surface that was covered in dust or mud.
Okay, well, that's not the manufacturer's fault. Because I'm guessing they sent a alcohol wipe and instructed the user to wipe off the surface with the alcohol and allow it to dry before applying the sticky grenade.
I'm trying to hurl this sticky grenade at a tank, which is driving through, it's a tank, so it's driving through, rough terrain, aka going to be covered in mud and
which
dirt.
Is why you have to clean the surface before you apply it.
Yeah. So you got to run up to the tank.
Adhesive. This is elementary stuff.
This is 3M. Like you get the 3M, the Bondo strips.
It
says on the directions you got to.
Or else it's not going to adhere as well.
It's not going to adhere.
Yeah, that's user error.
User error. First off the bat, it's not sticking to shit.
Because people aren't cleaning properly.
They did find out if the soldier was not careful when removing the grenade from its metal casing, it would tend to get stuck to themselves, their uniforms or their own equipment.
You mean the thing covered in adhesive?
Yeah,
was sticky.
So it had a good job of sticking to the person that was using it, but not the actual thing that they were trying to use it on.
That's a problem. It's like when you get a piece of tape stuck on your finger and you're just trying to find something else that'll stick to better, so it comes off.
Yes, yeah.
And so, but you're the stickier
but you're
thing.
Doing it with a grenade that has a 5-second fuse.
That's going to blow up in 5 seconds.
Yep, exactly. It required the soldier to be extremely close to the tank. Even in throwing distance, you're still a lot closer to your tank than I want to be.
Yeah, 5 seconds airtime isn't all that much.
No, not so much. And it was noted that it was only effective against 1-inch armor, which even at the start of the war was just not.
I mean, you could use it. Everything. Tom.
Yeah, well, you could use it against 1-inch armor was basically the armor plating that they had on armored cars, trucks. Well, but the tanks were significantly heavier armored.
Right, but you don't. I mean, you just have to take out the treads, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, but still, you take out the treads of the tank. The tank is still functional. As a tank, it just can't move. You can still use the machine guns.
And get you.
You can still use the.
So you just go out of its range.
Or you would hope. But again, it's only effective against 1 inch of armor, which is not
great.
Yeah, not great. And the safest and easiest application of the weapon was to actually just drop it out a window in an ambush position. So they learned really quickly, look,
just drop it on somebody's head.
I'm not running up against anybody on this. To hell with actually trying to use it as that application. Instead, I'm just going to hide in a window and wait for the tank to come under me, and then just drop it on them.
Okay,
hope for the best.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best application for it.
I mean, that's kind of how it worked in Halo too, though.
Well, except for me. Well, when you were me, you were a suicide bomber. And you just huck those things at people.
Yeah, I'm guessing there weren't too many people willing to do what you did. You're like, I'm gonna get shot and killed, but you're coming with me. Here's a grenade to your face.
Yeah. Hey, it worked out really well for me in Halo, man. I mean, I was always
your kill the number 2 was always 0.
It was in fact always 0. The Ordnance War Department, after doing the initial testing, said this is just garbage. Let's not use it.
Maybe not.
but Prime Minister Winston Churchill was like, no. We're using it.
He saw the potential.
Put it into full production.
Yeah. He's like, get someone who can throw, and then talk to me about how bad it is.
Yeah, exactly. So 2.5 million of these were actually produced.
Holy shit!
Yeah, but they were mainly issued to the Home Guard, which obviously didn't ever really use them because England was never invaded. They were also issued to the British Commonwealth in North Africa, the Canadian Allied forces that used them in Anzo, and the Australian Allied forces that used them in the New Guinea campaign. Plus, a few of them got over to the resistance.
So,
which
most of them sat in a box somewhere.
Yeah, most of them sat in a box. Did get used. But for the resistance, it makes a little bit of sense to be used as a resistant weapon because, like, you could be dressed in plain clothes, act like a normal civilian, walk up to the tank and stick it real quick as you walk away.
Well, after you clean the surface.
With the alcohol wipe that was provided.
With your swab.
Yep. So out of these 2.5 million bombs that were produced, Johnny, can you guess how many actually were used and credited with tank destruction?
It's got to be at least half.
Yeah, 6
million?
No, just 6. 6 tanks were credited with the destruction by sticky bomb.
Killtrocity.
Something. So, there is a novel called Go Slowly, which was written by David Nivens, Nivens, Nivens. And it describes a first-hand account of them actually using the sticky bombs for things that it wasn't intended on. So they were using it as a practical prank kind of thing, and they put the sticky bomb on an outhouse that an officer was sitting in, thinking that they would get all good laughs, and proceeded to blow up the outhouse, resulting in Officer Stanley losing his dignity and a large section of his trousers.
I assume dignity is a coded word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Of sorts.
Yeah, the damn outhouse was no more, and he lost his pants in the process.
Ah, pranked you. I stuck a grenade to you. What the fuck kind of prank is that, Tommy?
I don't know. It's apparently what it happened.
God.
In 1951, however, the inventor, Macrae, he did receive £500 for his part in developing the bomb, which is equivalent to 15,400 pounds today, or basically around $30,000 US.
That's not bad. 11 years afterwards?
Yeah, 11 years afterwards of inventing this bomb.
They're like, oh, thanks, I guess.
Blew up 6 tanks. Here's some money.
I mean, that seems odd that they would come back to him after that. And,
hey,
all right.
You know what? Who am I to judge? Whatever. Way to go, England. You invented an awesome weapon.
Seems like somebody had to use up the rest of their budget. And they're like, we got $500, and if we don't spend it by the end of the day, they're not going to give it to us next year. And so they just had to give it to this dude.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like what it is. So that's that's our first one on the list here, which is the sticky bomb.
All right, well, yeah, that was pretty bad. Good idea, though. I mean, really. A bomb that'll just, you throw it and it sticks. That's the dream.
It's really not a bad idea, just it's not practical, or at least wasn't practical.
Well, it wasn't executed appropriately, I think, is the biggest thing.
No. So our second stupid Allied weapon up on the list here is the Sedgley OSS-38, or the Sedgley fist gun. This thing is it is what it sounds like, Johnny. It's a gun that you wear on a glove.
On a glove?
Yeah, it's a gun on a glove.
Okay.
Which is activated as you hold your fist and you punch somebody, the gun goes off.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of cool. So it's like an impact driver.
Sort of, but yeah. But, you have to be...
It's like brass knuckles on steroids.
Yeah, but you have to be within me and you to use it, so...
Right, but it's like you have brass knuckles and they're going to kill somebody pretty well by themselves. But now you're going to have brass knuckles and it's going to send a round into their head.
It is the most American thing ever. Let's add a gun to a pair of brass knuckles.
Yeah, I'm going to punch you to death.
With a gun.
Like, yeah.
The whole point of a gun is that I don't have to be next to you to use it, but we're gonna make this
but we still want to kill you. But we want to punch you too.
We want to punch you while we kill you. Yep. So it is the official designation is the hand firing mechanism Mark II. Brilliant. Again,
yeah.
Mark II, indicating that there was something before this.
I think brass knuckles.
Maybe.
I think just
maybe. So it was designed by Stanley M. Hyatt. It's Haight. I think it's Hyatt. And the Sedgley OSS is a single shot break action smoothbore, Johnny, We're not getting any accuracy out of this. But again, it doesn't matter because you have to punch them.
Like,
you have to punch them. And it's
are you going to snipe someone with it?
No, but it's chambered in a 38 special. And like I said, was attached to the back of a cowhide glove.
I mean, on the outside?
Yeah, on the outside. Yeah, the outside of the glove.
So it's visible.
So yeah. This is the other problem with it.
So your secret punching
gun is on the just outside, completely
visible
on the back of your hand.
Glove that you have to.
Yeah, there's this big metal box basically with a barrel sticking out of it.
And this was made during wartime.
Yes,
so as an instrument of war.
Yes.
Sorts.
So it was initially going to be kind of like we had the OSS at the time, so we didn't have the FBI or the CIA hadn't existed yet. So we have what's called the OSS, which is the Operation of Strategic Services.
Okay.
So they're our intelligence department. So it was originally developed by the U.S. Navy intelligence as a kind of we give this to our spy. If the spy gets caught, they have this backup, like, oh, look, my hands are up. I'm surrendering. And then when they get close enough, they punch them in the face, and you get one shot. Hopefully it worked.
And hopefully only one person is holding you up and trying to take you hostage.
You're already seeing the stupidity of this.
Or maybe you just train them to punch in such a way that they line up all the heads and it goes straight through them.
Maybe. Nice, although it's a 38 special. Yeah, it's a 38 special out of like a 1-inch barrel. It's not. Let's not get too excited here, Johnny. I think it's gonna do that. So like I said, to fire this gun, the extender would actually have to, or the wearer would have to punch the intended target, physically punch it. There's an extended plunger bar that, as you punch, that plunger gets depressed. It sets off the gun. That's your trigger.
Sure.
Yep. The design of it, the Navy encouraged the wearer that they would be expected to wear a long sleeve jacket to help conceal the firearm.
Yeah, I'm picturing like a long sleeve jacket, like sleeves all the way down to like the ankles.
Just
completely covering their. They're just walking around like a kid in their dad's business suit.
That's about the only way that this would be able to be to be covered.
I mean,
the most ridiculous. Yeah, it's awful. And it was also designed to kind of be an assassination weapon or a last-ditch weapon. So the other objection is, like, you'd wear it, you'd be an undercover person, say, you're snuck into Hitler's bunker or something like that, and you'd be able to get close enough to Hitler to punch him in the face and kill him.
Yeah. Or sounds more like you can go ahead and just punch yourself in the head if you get caught.
That's probably the more useful.
Just kill yourself, bud. You're gonna save yourself a lot of pain and torture.
Yeah, that's definitely the more useful option for this.
Punch yourself right in the face.
So some obvious problems. You get one shot, and it is very slow to reload. So you don't have an option to reload. You get one shot.
No, yeah.
If there's more than one person, you're screwed.
Hopefully, you have 2 gloves.
We'll get to that in a second here, Johnny. Hold on. You obviously have to make physical contact with the target for it to work. It's not concealable at all. I mean, it is definitely a big metal thing hanging off the back of a glove. Like, what could that possibly be?
Maybe this was during, like, steampunk time.
And I guess the biggest downfall here, Johnny, though, is that it was only issued with one glove, not as a pair set. So what the hell? You're going to be a guy walking around with one cowhide glove, the other glove bare knuckle like Michael Jackson.
Like, you got to assume that that's not going to be suspicious. Gloves too. What if your spy's left-handed?
Then they are right-handed gloves. Yep.
And you're gonna have somebody punching with their non-dominant hand as a last-ditch effort. As they're being held hostage.
Good luck, Johnny.
In some kind of weird underground villain
bunker where there's only one person there.
Scenario.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's a good thing they made this weapon.
Yeah, it is very good. So can you guess? Can you guess how many were made, Johnny?
Oh, geez, got to be hundreds of thousands. I would imagine.
So they actually did produce between 52 and 200. We don't have specific numbers. Or 100, like 52 total.
1,000.
No, just 52
gloves. Individual. Not
up to 200 gloves total.
Not 1,000.
Not 1,000. Just 100.
Fine. So it was an overwhelming success.
It was produced by the Sedgley Company, but this is what makes no sense.
Oh, so this is the part?
Bear with me here. So the Sedgley Company also produced pre-war time, so in the Roaring 20s, 1930s, pre all those, bans on concealed weapons and all that kind of fun stuff that happened in the United States. They made what was called a pen gun. And it looks like a fountain pen.
Uh-huh.
Exactly like a fountain pen, but it contained a .22 caliber.
Oh, it's got like a little thumb thing or whatever. You click it and...
Yeah, you just like on the fountain pen, like how you pull the knob back to load the ink.
Yep.
You do the same thing, but you let it go and it shoots a .22 caliber round as opposed to ink.
Nice.
So why the hell didn't they just use that?
Because they could get a .38 smoothbore.
In a glove that's not concealable, that looks like a gun.
Also, who carries around a pen?
At this time, Johnny, and everybody.
That's nonsense. Why?
Everybody carried around a pen.
You put your punching glove on, and you go punch people.
Well, there are. To be fair, there are no confirmed records of this actually being used in combat.
No.
Really? And reportedly the OSS purchased a few, but no known records exist. But again, this is kind of an OSS weapon to begin with, so the records and everything are spotty and dodgy.
Yeah.
But there are actual known examples of original produced guns, so it's not a myth. I mean, it did exist.
It existed, it was just shit.
But it was just shit. Yep.
Because why would you want that?
Exactly. So that brings us up to our third one on the list here, Johnny, and it is made by the Great People's Republic of Russia.
Oh, I love
USSR.
Russia. Yeah, good folks there.
Yep, this is your country that if we don't care about people, anything is possible.
You can do whatever you want.
Yep. So they came up with the idea of anti-tank dogs.
Oh, fuck Russia.
There it is.
What the hell?
There it is, people. We love animals, but fuck human life.
I mean, there's plenty of us.
So
dogs have done nothing wrong.
Dogs have done nothing wrong. So let me walk you through this one, Johnny. So it was developed in the early.
I don't know if I want you to, Tommy.
Well, I'm gonna buckle up, buddy, and get prepared to be pissed off. So it was developed in the early 1930s at the Moscow Oblast Dog Training School.
A dog training school allowed this shit to happen?
Yeah. So in 1924, post World War I, pre World War II. As Russia's still developing some new weapons because they realized we got our asses kicked in World War I. Maybe let's not do that again.
That worked out well.
Yeah, I kind of did. It did. I mean, they won the Second World War. I mean, let's ignore how many lives were lost, but they won. So the Revolutionary Military Council of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics opened up the Moscow Oblast School to teach dogs various military tasks, including searching for bombs, searching for people, carrying equipment and supplies, medical response, etc.
Yeah.
So, that's a logical thing.
Normal dog stuff.
Yeah. People do, I mean, even modern U.S. military still uses dogs.
Oh, of course.
To a degree, for different tasks. Not so much for anti-tank, but for different tasks. So the workers and peasants' Red Army at this time had no dedicated dog trainers, so they actually had to recruit from hunters, police, and circus trainers.
Ah, yes. So, the always ethical circus trainers.
Starting off real strong. In 1930, the idea came to use dogs to carry and deliver mines underneath tanks and armored vehicles. So initially, the dogs would release the bomb, like they would have it in their mouth. The bomb would be armed.
They just go carry it.
Yeah, they would run up to the tank, drop said bomb in front of the tank, and as they left, it would pull a strap which would arm the bomb, and then bomb would go off. But
what an insanely complicated device that must be.
To train a dog how to do.
No, and just the device in general.
Yeah. And there are patents for it, so they did go all out on it. They tried it. The problem is it didn't really work because the dogs...
You don't say.
They weren't so happy about running up to a tank and dropping off a said device. And like, imagine playing fetch with your dog, right? You get your ball and you throw the ball to the dog goes, gets it, he brings it back. He never wants to let that friggin' ball go.
Well, no, yeah. It's his ball.
It's his ball. So imagine that being a bomb now instead of a ball. So it didn't work. So their next option here was that they modified the mine with a 7.9-inch wooden pole.
Why not just 8 inches?
I don't know. 7.9 is the official.
Some bullshit.
I don't know. It's 7.9. That's how long the wooden pole was, and it attached to a contact switch. So basically, the dog would then run underneath the tank, and as the pole hit the bottom of the tank, bomb would go off. Bye bye doggy. And tank, So again, we don't care about life here, and I
mean, give it to a soldier then.
Yeah, but they didn't. I mean, Johnny,
Russia.
This is a country that didn't care about human life, let alone animal life.
So give it to the soldier. Let him do it.
Since the underside of the tanks were lightly armored, that's why the bomb would be effective. Basically, you get up underneath the tank.
You just have to train a dog to run underneath a moving vehicle.
Yep. So in 1935, the Workers and Peasants Red Army. I like saying that, the Workers and Peasants Red Army. God, fucking Russia. They officially had the anti-tank dogs in their arsenal. Each dog would then be fitted with a 22 to 26 pound mine.
That's a heavy mine.
That's a pretty big mine, and they would be carried in 2 canvas pouches on a harness that the dog would wear.
Sure.
With the pole, with the trigger mechanism.
Right, yeah, a little backpack thing.
And then prior to detonation, a safety pin would be pulled. The dog would be told to have at him, boy, and then the dog would be sent away. Can't possibly imagine anything wrong with this idea at all. So
that will only go to plan.
Yep. So between 1941 and 1942, approximately 40,000 of these dogs were deployed on the front lines.
What? 40,000?
40,000. Yes, 40,000. The first use was in summer of 1941, when 30 of these dogs were deployed, and immediately serious problems developed. So they had a training program that it passed the training program. They're like, this works. It's great. Good idea. So I can't imagine how many dogs actually died during the training program, but they're like, it worked.
Oh, it's probably just a shit training program.
But there are problems with the training program that ultimately lead to the problems of the actual real-world application of this. So first, the dogs were trained on vehicles that stood still because Russians didn't have enough fuel. So in order to conserve fuel, they just had the tanks out there and they didn't have them moving.
So these nice, quiet, just buildings,
stationary objects are sitting there. Oh, and also they didn't have enough ammunition, Johnny, so they also didn't actually ever use live ammunition. So they're not trained. So the dogs are trained in a very quiet, controlled environment.
I mean, what? Yeah, but why would you want live ammunition though?
Well, so you can hear so the dogs can get trained to the volume of the noise. You know, the noise.
Oh, you're not just the bombs themselves.
Not the bombs themselves, but you know what's around them. Like tanks make noise, machine guns make noise.
No, that I get.
You're trying to train a dog to go into, underneath a tank that's making noise.
Sure.
With machine guns and all that fun stuff, right? The other problem is the Russians used their own vehicles with their own diesel mixture. So the Russian fuel had a very a smell that was very distinct. And they used that fuel with those Russian equipment. So
well, that matter. Dogs don't depend on their sense of smell at all.
Yeah, right. So the dogs are being trained on Russian equipment with Russian fuel, depending upon their senses.
And they're being trained to run up underneath those specific
vehicles with that specific smell.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what can possibly go wrong?
I cannot possibly imagine what could have happened.
So
what happened, Tommy?
So we're here in the summer of 1941 with 30 of these dogs and their trainers, and the trainers start pulling the pins on these bomb mechanisms and telling the dogs to go have at it, whatever the command happens to be. So obviously some of the dogs,
something in Russian.
Yeah, something, sure. Some of the dogs they get scared, and instead of running towards the German tanks as you would, as they were quote unquote trained to do,
they're giant, moving, loud, noisy buildings now that hadn't ever done that before.
Yep.
They got scared of that.
They hear the gunshots, they see the tanks moving, they get scared, and as this armed dog is scared, it runs back into the Soviet lines, where they proceed to detonate the mines because the stick hits something.
Yeah,
whether it be a Russian tank
or a tank
or trench or whatever, and said blow up and kill said Russians instead of Germans.
Oops.
Oopsies.
The Russians seem to do a lot of that whole killing their own people instead of the bad guy thing.
Yeah, and they sure did.
So the thing they do.
So immediately after this, the order came out to shoot any of the returning dogs before they could detonate in friendly lines.
I'll bet the people spending the last several months with these dogs training them loved that.
Yeah, right. Oh, they they sure did. But then again, to be fair to these assholes, you train this dog, they're gonna be a suicide. Like the dog's not coming back.
Right. Yeah.
So the hell with you too. The Germans obviously doesn't take them very long to figure out what the hell's going on. oh, this dog that's running at me with a backpack that looks like a couple of mines on it. Maybe I'm just going to shoot that dog before it gets anywhere near my tanks. Which is exactly what they do. They just shoot the damn dogs before they get to the tanks.
Yeah, the Russians didn't think that might be an option.
Nope, they sure
Because who shoots a dog?
Right?
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who does that?
What asshole would put an innocent animal
at risk
to be a weapon? You know, at risk. So Russia's response obviously was the appropriate one, where they clearly stopped using these, right?
Of course.
Or they
because they know how to do war.
Or anyone who criticized the program was persecuted by the Special Department, which is the basically the precursor to the KGB. That you never got found again when you got arrested by the Special Department.
You know what I've noticed about Russia is that they don't take constructive criticism very well.
No, not especially not at this time in their history.
Or at all.
No.
Really?
No.
Just zero constructive criticism. When they do something and they put it out there, they're not looking for constructive criticism.
I am safe to bet that when Putin listens to this podcast, it's not going to be allowed in Russia.
Well, probably not. Do you think he'd come on as a guest, though?
Maybe. We can invite him. We'll see.
Leave a comment, Putin.
Also, to be fair, it's not like Putin was alive when the shit was going on. I mean, he wasn't a part of it.
No.
This was Stalin, who is, a couple of years dead at this point. Yeah. So, of those initial 30 dogs, Johnny, can you give me an estimate of how many dogs actually made it to German tanks and did any kind of damage?
I mean, it damn well better be 30.
Okay. Well, of those 30, 6 dogs actually made it to near German tanks, but there is no reported damage to said tanks, aka there's no damage to the tanks.
I mean, so 6 seems to be our magic number.
Yeah,
it does. That's like the maximum number of things you can destroy with your shit weapon before people figure it out.
Yeah. So of those 30 dogs, six dogs actually wound up detonating inside Soviet lines, killing an unreported number of soldiers, aka a shit ton.
Yeah.
And 3 were shot and captured by the Germans, giving them access to the detonation device. So your secret weapon is now no longer secret.
Oops. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was really that complicated of a secret.
No, it's like
it's a stick that hit a trigger.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, Jesus, people. Oh no, they're going to figure out our secrets.
Pretty much, yeah. The Germans called the program a desperate attempt and used it as propaganda, saying that the Russians were too afraid to fight them themselves, so they sent in the dogs.
I love how petty, like, grown-ass adults in war are. Like, they're scared of us. They're sending in dogs to fight. And the Russians probably like, no, we're not scared. Those dogs were super awesome, and they did so good. Is that what they did?
Sort of hurt 6 of your tanks.
Yeah, we totally got you guys. Nuh-uh, your dogs are stupid.
So during the entire duration of this program, which again only lasted from 41 to 43, where they're actually being used, Russia claims that 300 German tanks were destroyed by the program.
That seems unlikely.
Yeah, it wasn't. There's no way. I'm calling bullshit on that. There were, however, officially 13 tanks that were destroyed at Stalingrad. Like, they do have records of that. They are reported by multiple sources, including German sources, that 13 tanks were destroyed by these dogs at Stalingrad. Which, at Stalingrad, that makes a little bit of sense, because you're in urban combat. Like,
right.
It's a desperate situation. I can kind of sort of understand the use at that point.
Get a scared dog running around is going to destroy something.
I can sort of see that. And they do claim that another 12 tanks were disabled at the Battle of Kursk. The program...
So that's 25 total.
Yeah. Way to go.
Slightly less than...
Out of the 40,000 dogs that were in the program.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
It's not a super successful program.
No. And it was essentially ceased at the end of 42, early 43 by the Soviets altogether, although they continued to train the mine dogs all the way up until 1996. So we can blame Putin for this one.
Just because they had them the schools established, and might as well, I guess.
Or it could work. We just need to train the dogs better, maybe.
Maybe if we get years and years of breeding into these dogs.
So this is where you're going to hate America a little bit here, Johnny, because in 1943...
Okay.
Yeah, but in 1943, Americans actually considered using armed dogs against fortifications called demolition wolves. Essentially,
that's a heady play, though. You call them wolves and not dogs, because that's more aggressive and wild and not like a cuddly thing. That's a heady play.
Yeah, but essentially it was the same thing.
Better marketing.
We take a dog, we put a mine on it.
A wolf.
A wolf. We put a mine on him. We run him into a bunker, and he blows up the bunker.
Sure.
But
safely after he leaves the bomb and then sets the detonator and then comes back.
Yep.
Because we're America and we're not going to just
PETA would have a shit fit.
Kill anybody.
Yep.
Oh, PETA can go fuck themselves.
So guess who is not sponsoring this week's episode? PETA.
Yeah, PETA, if you want to sponsor us, you can go fuck yourselves. Keep your money. I don't want it.
Fair enough. But the tests in America showed that this was a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. And for like the first time ever in American history went, yeah, it's bad. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
So it was never deployed.
Well, that's a good decision.
But speaking of animal cruelty and really good
ideas...
ideas...
Do we need to play our animal sound? Like, is this just an animal episode? What the hell? I thought this was weapons.
Well, I mean, it might be. But our fourth weapon of the day here, Johnny, is the U.S. bat bomb.
Okay, so like a Batman-inspired thing.
Sure.
Like, because he has bat bombs. And he pulls them out, and they grow the little wing. Like, he clicks a button, and they do the wings, and then he can throw them like a frisbee.
Yep. This is not it, though, Johnny.
So this is not like a modified new age version of the sticky grenade that just sticks into the armor of a tank and blows up?
Nope, not quite. What we have is a device. It was designed by Louis Fieser, Fieser, Pfizer, in January 1942. So his original idea, the original idea of this was conceived by Lytle S. Adams, who was a dental surgeon and a personal friend of Eleanor Roosevelt. So we might see why this might have came about. Personal friend of the president's wife.
How personal?
Well, I'm just saying, one guy's in a wheelchair, this guy's not. Uh-huh. Maybe something's going on. Again, we have no proof of it. We're not saying it happened, but we're also not saying it didn't happen.
I'm not saying it's off the table.
Yep. So, little more than a month after Pearl Harbor, Adams wrote a letter to the president proposing the idea of an incendiary bat bomb. So in his letter, Adams suggests that at the time of release, if you could have bats that are soaked in some kind of incendiary device, like a napalm. Live bats, yep.
Real actual animals.
Real live bats.
Dip them in explosives.
Or, attach explosive to them.
Yeah.
Dip them in explosive, attach explosives to them. And then bats, because they tend to roost in crevices, like in caves or underneath awnings of houses.
Right, yeah, sure, chimneys, all that stuff.
All that stuff. And since Japan is largely wood and paper homes, this would be a great idea. So you drop this device that has hundreds or thousands of bats that are covered in this explosive or carrying an explosive. The bats would then fly around and do their bat thing, roost up in to the houses, and after a set period of time, the bat would explode or combust. You would effectively set up a very large destruction zone.
Yeah, sure, okay.
So again, we don't care about you. Got to not care about life here. Ignore the whole life thing.
Tommy, that's what I've been saying from the beginning of this podcast. If you don't care about life, you can accomplish anything you want.
So, obviously, some of us at home are thinking, maybe we don't want to kill innocent bats. But Adams assures Roosevelt...
Not that many people.
Well, probably not. Adams assures Roosevelt in his letter that bats are, quote, the lowest form of animal, and until now, reasons for this creature's existence have remained unexplained.
Does this dumbass know how many mosquitoes they eat?
Yeah, we'll get there, Johnny. Hold on. So bats were, he said, bats were created by God to await this hour, to play their part in the scheme, to free human existence, and to frustrate any attempts of those who dare desecrate our way of life.
Yeah, that's what God did.
He sure did.
Millions of years ago, God goes, you know what these bats are going to be good for? One day,
lighting them on fire.
The greatest nation on earth is going to need something to fly into a crevice and blow up. And so I will create these amazing bat creatures for them.
Yep. So
that's what God did.
Exactly what God did. He said, America is God's nation, and we're going to save it by burning bats.
Oh my,
so what do you think?
These people's God sucks.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah. The God that creates an animal millions of years
and it's not even combusting an innocent animal that had nothing to do with it. The only reason why this animal exists is to catch fire, to murder other people who don't believe in me.
That's right. Yeah. God gave you this creature to go kill those other people with. The sole purpose of this. Good. Fuck. I can't.
So what do you think Roosevelt did with this letter, Johnny? Think he ignored it?
What letter? I lost track.
The letter that Adams wrote to Roosevelt suggesting this idea.
I mean, Roosevelt better have told him to go shove it up his ass.
No, Roosevelt greenlit the program and sent it to the United States.
The dude Army schlepping his wife.
Yep.
He said, "Go ahead and do what you want."
Yep, pretty much. So he sent it to the
allegedly.
Allegedly, he sent it to the United States Army Air Force because again, at this time, the Air Force doesn't exist. It's all either Navy Air Force or Army Air Force. So he sends it over to the Army Air Force for further development.
What's there all right.
Well, two of the work. Well, to actually see if it's practical.
Actually put stuff on a bat.
Put this idea together. So two of the workers on the project were mammalogists, Jack von Blocher and actor Tim Holt, who is. We got to do an episode on this guy because he's a former gangster and self-described bat lover.
A
self-described bat lover. Who was put on this project to light bats on fire and send them to Japan.
Have you ever described yourself as a self-described anything?
No.
Like I'm a self-described whatever lover.
Cat lover, bat lover,
anything.
Dog lover.
Like,
no.
Yeah. No. It's such a weird thing
to self-describe yourself to. But
it's just like it's like one of those things that are on like the local news channel. That like they just pick some dude off the street and they have to put something on the ticker below it. They're like, "Oh, self-described bat lover says that I don't know, it's fine to put napalm on bats and let them into caves."
Yeah, have at it, right? He's also a gangster and an actor. Like this is
what a life.
I know. Imagine
triple threat.
Like, yeah,
bat lover, gangster, actor.
I'm trying to think of somebody in modern context who's an actor and a gangster, but I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. But I mean,
Al Capone.
Was he an actor?
Is he a gangster?
Well, Al Capone was, yeah.
Who was the guy that played him?
No, I don't know. Oh, like Pesci maybe. Pesci might have been a gangster back. I
don't watch gangster movies. I don't know anything about.
Well, Joe Pesci, the guy from
yeah.
The guy from.
That's what I was. That's probably who I was thinking of.
Yeah, maybe.
Then I don't know.
So imagine Joe Pesci being put in charge of a military program.
Huh? Why not?
Yeah, why not? Right? I guess.
Have you seen a president?
Fair point. So both of these individuals, Jack von Blocher and actor Tim Holt, they both noted that it did not occur to them the question of morality when sacrificing a few million bats. They both were like, the self-described bat lover was like, didn't even think about, like, was this ethical to
did not even occur to them. Nope. Not even on the table of discussion of, guys, maybe this is a little immoral?
So we might be wondering, well, where does Louis Pfizer play into this since he's the one who designed it? Well, Louis Pfizer actually invents the napalm that's used in the incendiary device, and then develops the timed explosive rig for the bats. He determined that a bat could carry between 15 to 18 grams of napalm in an H2 unit that's glued to the bat's chest. So instead of dunking the bat, said napalm, we just take this little canister of napalm and glue it to the bat's chest, rig up a time fuse.
Yeah, I mean that way you're not messing up their wings or anything.
Yeah, they still can fly. Yeah, they can still fly just perfectly fine. Then these bats that are, have napalm glued to their chest would be packed into a sheet metal tube, which is 5 feet in length and would hold up to approximately 1,040 bats.
I mean, how many would survive that?
Well, so
like you can fit 1,040 in there, but how many are going to fly afterwards?
So they would fit 1,040 bats into this sheet metal tube. Each of them would have 15 to 18 grams of napalm attached to their chest. The plan was to drop the bombs at dawn, because obviously, bats like to sleep during the day. So if we drop them at dawn, they'll go find a place to hurl up for the night and sleep. The bomb would be dropped by parachute. When the capsule reached 4,000 feet, the capsule would open up on a timed fuse, and then the bats would be able to fly away. So it was expected that the bats could fly between, hit this, buckle up, Johnny, between 20 to 40 miles in radius. And they wind up doing their first test in Carlsbad, New Mexico on August 1943.
They decided to. This seems like a bad thing to test.
No, we're going to test it. So they have a mock-up village, like a mock-up Japanese village.
They just tested where the bats would go, though. Like they didn't have them with the incendiary devices, right?
Well, so it was planned to be tested, like I said, in Carlsbad, New Mexico, in August 1943. But these bats that were armed were accidentally released.
Accidentally
released. So this wasn't the test wasn't happening yet. So this was right before the test was supposed to happen. They have the mock village and everything. But before they can get the bats into the bomb and then drop the bomb, the bats get out of their cage.
Who did that?
Where's
this person's name in history? This person's name needs to be in history books.
So again,
what dumbass left the latch pin undone?
So the bats get out and they roost. Multiple of these bats roost underneath a fuel tank, and
then their devices go off. Why did the devices go off?
I don't know, Johnny.
Was it like upon release it activated?
I guess. I don't know. They roost up underneath this fuel tank. The fuel tank goes up, and the test range is obliterated because the fuel tank goes up.
So it worked.
It sure does. So after this oopsie accident failed test thing, the Army's like, yeah, we're kind of done with this, and they kick it over.
Why would they be done with it? It's proven effective,
right?
On accident, they were able to destroy something. Imagine what you could do on purpose.
So they kick it over to the Navy, who continue working on the project. It now has an official code name, Johnny. Code name is Project X-Ray.
What?
What exactly? What the hell does this have to do with anything?
What?
I don't know. But so there was a in the 90s. I'm getting sidetracked here, but in the 90s there was this thermal take computer port that would go in front of your computer case that would have a cigarette lighter in it. and a cup holder.
Perfect for your coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah, for your coffee and cigarettes in the 90s for your computer. Again, in the front of a computer, coffee and cigarettes, right? And its name was X-Ray. Was the name of this device. So maybe Thermaltake got the name X-Ray from this Project X-Ray because we're lighting things on fire.
People just think
I think it's more. I think it's probably more to do with the fact that at this time we're all
nothing to do with bats.
Nothing to do with bats, but we're all about science. So we'll give it a cool sciencey name like X-Ray. I don't know.
That's some weak sauce naming.
Maybe it is weak sauce.
For all the money we put into the Department of Defense, they need a better marketing team.
So yes, they do. So the Marines would actually wind up testing this on a mock Japanese village that they make in WWII Proving Grounds in Utah.
People just keep on making up these fake Japanese villages instead of just taking them over and being like, let's see what happens.
Right? Yeah, maybe just test it actually in Japan.
Just drop a bunch of... What's the worst that's going to happen?
It doesn't work and nothing happens? Best case scenario.
Now they're infested with bats and malaria rates drop.
So during their first test, a reasonable number of destructive fires were started in spite of the extremely small size of the units. The main advantage of this, of the units they keep calling them, so we don't want to acknowledge that they're bats, would be that they would seem to be their placement within the eminent structures without the knowledge of the householders or fire watchers, so that these bats would actually do their whole roosting thing, hiding outside of human sight, and then would combust fire. So all these fires were small, they were numerous, spread out over a large area. It works. It does its job. Yeah. Actually, if you don't care about killing millions of bats, it works.
Yeah, which, surely nothing negative has ever come from killing millions of a species.
Right? So we've got an episode coming up on that one, Johnny. We'll get to it. So the National Defense Research Committee concluded that this wasn't actually an effective weapon. It claimed that the regular firebombs would yield up to about a 400-mile radius of fires dropped from conventional bombing techniques, versus Project X-Ray would actually lead up to about 4,748 fires over that mile distance. So you'd get basically 10 times the radius.
Okay.
So very effective. So now we're sitting here thinking, all right, well, aside from killing millions of innocent bats, why wasn't this used regularly? Well, it was estimated that it wouldn't be ready until 1945 at the earliest. Again, I don't know why. You just put some bats in the tube and drop it.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? But
maybe was estimated, catching bats is hard.
Maybe. It was estimated it wouldn't be ready until 1945, and it was scrapped in favor of the Manhattan Project, which is the nuclear project that we have. So we're like, screw this whole bat thing. We're going to drop a nuke instead.
Turns out we can kill a bunch of people without killing a bunch of animals, too. Well...
I think it's safe to assume that a few animals might have died in those bombs.
Well, but no, we dropped the warning tags, though.
Yeah.
People don't talk about that. We dropped warnings.
Yeah, we did. We did drop warning tags that said, hey, you're about ready to get hit with a really big bomb. Yeah. Probably leave.
Animals probably took heed. They can sense things like that coming.
Maybe.
Like hurricanes and things.
Maybe. Well, hopefully they did. But I'm kind of doubting it. So our our fifth and final project here, Johnny, or bad weapon is the Great Panjandrum, which was developed by the British military.
Is that like one of the things that's like spelled the same way frontwards and backwards?
No, it's
or sound.
No, a little bit different. So it was a quote unquote highly secretive project. Also, like I said, the Panjandrum or the Great Panjandrum, and it was designed by the Admiralty's Directorate of Miscellaneous Weapons Development, or the DMWD. Not to be confused with the WMD.
Come on, British.
Yeah, right.
All of that's a mouthful.
Yes, the Admiralty's Directorate of Miscellaneous Weapons Development.
Over yourselves.
It was developed during the later years of the war and prior to the Normandy invasion. So we're about ready to invade mainland Europe. We're going to have a secret weapon to kind of help us deal with the defenses there.
The secret weapon sounds like a Congo drum or something, like a conga drum, or what are those? The djembe or something like that.
Yeah, you're not that far off, Johnny. So prior to the invasion, Oh, go ahead.
No, it's a drum.
Yeah, it's a drum of types. So we'll get there. So prior to the Normandy invasion, the DMWD was asked to come up with a device that's capable of penetrating the 10-foot high, 7-foot thick concrete defenses of the German Atlantic Wall.
It's a tall order.
Tall order. Yep. And obviously not being a tank and not being a person operated thing, they wanted this kind of remote device thing. So the device was required to be launched from a landing craft. As anything delivered by hand would be cannon fodder for the defenses. So like, we don't want a personnel thing. We want this remote.
I realize they can't have dogs running up.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. So they wanted, let's get a remote thing that can be launched at, like a big artillery shell that can be launched at defenses. So, so what did they come up with, Johnny?
A trebuchet.
That would have been a better. That would have been a better option here. They came up with 2 large wooden wheels that are 10 feet in diameter, with steel treads that are about a foot wide, so you get some traction on the dirt there. And they are joined by a central drum that's fitted with the explosive payload. It was propelled by a set of cordite rockets, so basically we got rockets on the wheels that launch this thing forward.
Rockets on a treaded, wheeled. I mean, it sounds like it's like a little, like a RC car.
Kind of, yeah. But these are
with rockets.
Like bottle rockets, basically, yeah.
And those were supposed to propel it forward.
Yeah. You had the original idea was
on sand.
Yeah, the original idea was about 18 rockets per wheel.
Seems excessive.
Sub-Lieutenant Neville Shute calculated that it would take at least 1 ton of explosives to create a tank-sized hole in defenses. So the bomb was packed with 4,000-pound payload.
2 tons, right?
2 tons, yeah, I think, yeah. And could allegedly achieve speeds up to 60 miles an hour.
That seems ideal.
Very ideal.
That's like...
And if you know...
like allegedly my car can go 135 miles an hour.
Have you ever, like as a kid, gotten a pack of bottle rockets, right? And then you thought, hey, 1 rocket at a time is kind of lame. Why don't I fuse all these rockets together and launch them at the same time, right? How does that go off? Do all the rockets go off at once, or does it usually result in chaos and rockets flying everywhere?
You can get more chaos if you take the sticks off
and just throw them all around.
And then you put them all in a circle with the wicks all facing in the middle, and then you light all the wicks together, and then you get the fuck out of there because they're going all over the place.
Well, basically, Johnny, that's essentially what they're doing. They're taking those bottle rockets, putting them all on a wheel, and hoping that they ignite at the same time with the same degree of efficiency. And will plow something through sand. Mm-hmm.
It's just going to dive into the sand, right? It's just going to dig in.
Yep, something like that. So
I have no knowledge of this thing,
and you already know. And I know it's going.
You're going to put a rocket on some shit, and it's going to just dig into the sand and blow itself up.
Well, you're not entirely far off there, Johnny. Shockingly.
Why was the world so stupid in the 30s and 40s?
Johnny, have you looked around today? I don't know if it's that they're any stupider. It's just when you give a country in war unlimited resources, stupid shit happens.
Well, when you allow stupid people to go about making stuff and making decisions, that's what happens.
Yeah. So this again, I have to reiterate here, Johnny, that this was a highly secretive project. In fact, up until recently,
why wouldn't you just put it on a sled instead of treads if you're going to put it on sand?
Right. It seems like it would make sense, right?
How are you going to get those wheels?
But again, highly secretive project. Up until recently, they weren't even sure if this actually existed. Okay.
Well, probably because they were trying to cover it up, and they're like, no, that definitely did not exist. We're not that stupid.
So right before testing, these devices were constructed at the Leytonstone armory kind of thing, and they were transported at night because, again, it's highly secretive.
Of course, yeah.
They were transported at night
in the cover of
by
darkness.
trains in the cover of darkness to the testing grounds. And the testing grounds that were chosen was a beach called Westward Ho, a popular vacation destination.
Naturally.
So imagine the U.S. military testing a highly secretive weapon at Myrtle Beach.
No, it's a heady play, though. No one will think that you're testing something secret on a public beach. So no one will pay attention to it.
But it's hard to keep something secret at a public beach.
But they won't think it's a secret, so they won't even pay attention to it.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll be like, oh, that's just a thing that's happening that everybody already knows about. I know about it too. I'm not an idiot. And then they'll just ignore it.
Yeah, maybe.
This is brilliant.
So the first test, the first test was conducted on September 7th, 1943, and the following results are that they obviously a large citizen audience showed up for the testing because you're testing it on a public beach that's a popular vacation destination. They're all just looking over to the left going, what the hell's going on over there?
Well, they didn't show up for the testing.
They just showed up.
They went to the beach and then saw some things happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And went to check it out.
The DMWD, seeing all the citizens, were like, hey, maybe stay away during these tests because we're not really entirely sure if this is even safe.
We don't know what's gonna happen.
So maybe don't stand around and watch us.
Hey, public whose beach we invaded, please ignore the things that we're doing and go away.
Yep. And obviously it didn't work because everybody's like, you're about ready to light up some rockets on a wheel.
Oh, fireworks! Okay.
Yes.
Let's see this.
Good. So the trials, they begin with trepidation, as only a handful of the rockets that were attached to the wheels actually ignite. And luckily, though, they did the smart thing and didn't actually have the explosive payload on this panjandrum. They just had the rockets to see. Yeah,
you just want to see if you can make this stupid machine move on sand.
Yep. So
with rockets.
Yeah, and they didn't go up to the full load of the rockets. They only went with like a half load because they wanted to see if it's even remotely possible.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So not all the rockets ignite, and they definitely don't ignite at the same time. The panjandrum does get off the landing craft successfully. Great. You have a ramp going down. You got momentum on your side here. But the second that the panjandrum hits the beach, the right side rockets immediately fail, and the panjandrum careens off course and almost hits a cameraman that's filming the whole damn thing. So basically, it makes a hard left turn, goes out of control, and crashes into the ocean.
Yeah, we used to take those bigger rockets and lay them on their side and launch them down the street. There's a little hill, and they'd go up off the hill and then go flying into the air. It was pretty cool to watch. But what they never did was fly straight.
No, oh God, no, they don't fly straight. Nope.
And if you were to tape a couple together, they would fly less straight.
Yep.
Especially if they didn't get lit at the same time.
So Britain's decision here, instead of scrapping the project right then, they're going, this isn't going to work.
Well, now everybody knows about it, so you got to save face.
No, we're gonna go ahead and immediately try this again.
Double down.
Reset. Put more rockets on the wheels and see what happens.
That was the problem. You didn't have enough rockets.
The exact same result. The minute it hits the beach, it careens off course and crashes.
So have they thought about going ahead of time and digging a path in the beach?
Close. We're almost. You're on the right path. So
that seems to be the only thing that they need to do, right?
So they take this panjandrum. They go back to the drawing board here. They develop for another 3 weeks. And they return. This time, they decided that they're going to up the rocket count. Instead of 18 per wheel, they go to 70 rockets total. And added a third wheel in the middle for stability. So it's careening off course. We'll put a third wheel on it.
All you need is that third wheel for stability.
Yep. And we'll triple up the rockets.
That's perfect.
Problem solved. Go back again. Instead of, now we know that Westward Ho, this public beach, maybe we don't do this on the public beach because there's people watching. No, they go right back to Westward Ho and do it again.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good from a testing standpoint because you're only changing one of the variables, and it's the number of rockets. Well, I guess the number of rockets and a wheel. So you're changing a couple variables, so not great. But it's not like it's going to work anyway, so your testing doesn't matter at all.
So here's the testing, Johnny. As you can tell, it doesn't go as planned. The Panjandrum does get off the landing craft again.
Does the rocket happen to take this off of a smooth, flat surface?
Yep, it sure does. And
Shocking.
It skims the beach and then immediately careens off course with multiple rockets breaking off the wheel and then launching into the crowd.
Didn't secure those well enough, I guess.
Did not secure those rockets all that great. So
really the crowd having the rockets go into them, though, that's on them. They were warned to
get out of there. Yep.
Not to be at this public beach.
Sure were. So Shoot and his team, they go back and they persevere. You know, they are not giving up. They're saving face. They decided the third wheel, that didn't work. And so kind of along your thought pattern here, going ahead of time and digging some trenches, they actually add a cable system, thinking that, okay, if we shoot a harpoon cable system straight down,
I like it.
And then it'll follow a cable system.
Batman style.
Yep. This new and improved Panjandrum with the steel cables, they go back to Westward Ho Beach. They test it again. And the result is that the steel cable breaks under strain and wraps around one of the team members' necks.
Oh.
Doesn't die, but, you know, he does get it wrapped around his neck. There's actually video footage of this.
How does he not just get decapitated?
It wasn't going that fast. So
holy cat! I mean,
didn't. You do see, like, in the video, you actually do, because there are videos of these tests.
Yeah.
And they're on YouTube if you want to watch them. And it does wrap around the guy's neck. So, you know, if I was him, I'd be shitting my pants and they're like, I want nothing to do with this again.
I'd be like, well, why didn't we choose a stronger cable?
Right. So
try again.
I think you've got the mindset of Shoot.
And then I'll just stand 5 feet further back this time and I'll be fine.
Yep. You got the mindset of Shoot, because here, you know, he perseveres again, and they order one more final test after doing a little bit more development. And it was conducted in January 1944. So we're getting close to D-Day. We're getting close to the point where, like, we probably should actually be like
this device that you're supposed to make for this. That date's coming up.
Yeah, maybe we need to get this right.
How's it going on it?
Yep. So it was conducted in front of a full board of British military personnel. There was camera crews, all that fun stuff. The Admiralty board was there. Everybody's there. We're good to go. So this is your one time to shine. Let's hope for the best, right, Johnny? So the test does start off promising. The Panjandrum, like always, does get off the landing craft. It does hit the beach. But the second it hits the beach is where all hell breaks loose.
Again?
It careens off course again.
What?
A cameraman that was recording the test got way too close and noticed that the Panjandrum was veering towards him, and he had to run away for his life. There was a dog that was at the beach just doing his normal dog thing. He got terrified and ran away because it was careening towards him.
What's the total number of casualties of dogs during World War II?
I don't know. We should look it up.
It's got to be up there.
Well, this dog didn't die. He just got scared.
Oh, I might get scared to death, though. You don't know.
The Admiralty board that was observing it had to duck for cover as rockets broke loose from the Panjandrum and launched in every direction, including back at the boats launching craft where all the Admiralty board was sitting.
Once those sticks on the I assume they have big sticks on the back of them to keep them stable.
No, they're just literally rockets glued to the wheel.
Well, there's their problem. Put the sticks on them, you dumbasses. As soon as you take the sticks off, they go everywhere. If you put a stick on it, then they go straight line.
Yep. Yeah, and
I could have.
You could have saved them all. You could have saved them all, Johnny.
D-Day would have been much different if I were in this room.
So
that's all I'm saying.
So the Panjandrum actually winds up circling all the way back, going back towards the landing craft and crashing in the ocean in a fiery explosion. So we did it.
Well, hey, that fiery explosion's good. It's just in the wrong spot.
Exactly. So after this final test, the project was finally scrapped for obvious safety concerns.
Huh.
So after the war, the British War Department claims that this was all a part of Operation Fortitude, which was basically the Allied plan prior to Normandy landings to convince Hitler that the European invasion was going to strike at Calais as opposed to Normandy. So we actually wound up getting big inflatable tanks. We sent Patton over to an area of Britain that would be logical to leave to go and attack Calais.
Mm-hmm.
And it did work. I mean, that plan worked. We Hitler did divert a lot of the Atlantic Wall over to Calais.
So what they said was that this whole project was just
was a joke. It was never meant to be taken seriously. It wasn't a secret project. We wanted Hitler to find out about it so that he thinks we're attacking Calais.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Historic Hindsight. Every week we take a look at some of the major events that took place during this week in a segment that we like to call This Week in History.
All right, Johnny, so first up on the docket here, we've got the U.S. House of Representatives. They're going to vote 126 to 47 to impeach President Andrew Johnson on February 24th, 1868.
Is this the very first impeachment that we have as a country?
I think so, yeah. I don't 100% quote me on that, but I do believe that I think this is the first actual impeachment where the president is voted.
Is impeached. Not yeah. Impeachment charges brought up against him.
Yeah. So he is a not so loved president for his Southern Reconstruction post death of Lincoln. So if you don't know, Andrew Johnson will become El Presidente when Lincoln gets a hole in the back of his head.
Yeah.
He would give you kind of an idea of his character a little bit. On February 22nd, 1866, in an impromptu speech honoring George Washington, Andrew Johnson would refer to himself 200 times during the speech.
Wow.
So a little bit of a narcissist.
Huh. Wonder if we could draw any modern day parallels.
I don't know. All of our presidents ever have always been pretty well grounded, Johnny. I don't know who you could possibly be talking about.
There probably aren't any.
So General Grant at this time, at several various different points, would actually try to undermine the Reconstruction efforts of Andrew Johnson. Initially, the government tried to impeach Johnson on his bank accounts and claimed that he impeded former Confederate President Jefferson Davis's trial. But on June 3rd, we determined that, oh, wait, no, in fact, Johnson really wanted Davis to be tried and hung.
Okay.
Oopsies.
Whoops.
In 1867, Johnson would, this is where it all starts, why the impeachment starts. So in 1867, Johnson would fire Secretary of War Stanton and General Sheridan, particularly because Sheridan dismissed the governor of Texas and replaced him with one of Sheridan's and Stanton's approval. So at this time of Reconstruction, you've got Johnson who's trying to bring the South back into the North.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of the country that's, we just fought a 4-year war. A lot of people died. The South needs to pay. So there's this discrepancy between let's bring them back into the fold and the South needs to pay.
Right. Yeah. So we beat you. We want you back. You stay with us. But also let's get you some punishments.
So Stanton's more in the camp of the South needs to pay.
Yeah.
And Johnson doesn't like this when he hears this and says, all right, look, we're done. You're no longer Secretary of War. So he boots Stanton as Secretary of War in 1868 while Congress is not in session.
Yeah.
So they're out. They're on their vacation. He just kicks them out without any other approval other than you're fired. When Congress reconvenes in 1868, they claim that Johnson violated the Tenure of Office Act, and they go ahead and reappoint Stanton. They veto his veto. Johnson immediately removes Stanton again and appoints Lorenzo Thomas to replace him, and Stanton refuses to leave.
Yeah, Stanton's just caught in the middle of all this shit. Like,
yeah, but Stanton's refusing to leave, and Stanton's kind of...
Should I stay or should I go? Like, what do you...
Who knows? And so on February 24th, 1868, the House winds up impeaching President for intentionally and repeatedly violating the Tenure of Office Act. This would then, if you know anything about
that
American...
Seems fair if he kept going.
It does. He kept... Nope.
No, you're fired again. Didn't I fire you?
I can fire you. I'm the president. I can do what I want. So if you know anything about impeachment process, the first whole part about getting the president removed is you have the impeachment vote. If that goes through, then it goes over to the House of Senate, who then vote whether or not they're going to remove the president. So he is impeached, but the Senate trial is going to last for 3 months without Johnson being removed, mainly because at that point in time, nobody wanted the VP to take over. Like, both sides agreed, like, Johnson's an asshole, but we really don't want the VP.
Why do you think Trump got Pence?
Well, there you go. So our next thing up on the list here, Johnny, is the first Legal Tender Act passes in February 25th, 1862. And that is it was created to help finance the Civil War, and it allowed the federal government to print paper money for the first time without the backing of an equal amount of gold or silver.
Ah, yes.
So this is the federal government printing money without any backing.
Fun money.
Fun money is right. The original federal notes become known as greenbacks. Also, kind of a random point. The federal, there isn't a national treasury at this point. There's not a federal national reserve.
Okay.
And it wasn't common for there to be even federal notes to begin with. Most of the money that you had in the United States was actually backed by local banks, like state banks.
Okay.
The State Bank of Indiana would have its own currency with its own inflation issues and all that stuff. Headache. So the government would then actually take these greenbacks and force the local state governments to accept the bills at face value. So this is where the problem is. So back at that time, Indiana had its money, and it was backed by gold. And Ohio had its money, and it was backed by silver. And they agreed, all right, if you don't want to take our bill, you can exchange that value of gold for it.
Yeah, it's like going up and, taking your dollar up and using it in Canada or in Europe. You have an exchange rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Situation.
But the federal government then steps in with this act and says, you're going to take this dollar.
And it's worth
$1. And it's worth $1. And suck it.
Yeah. And we have nothing to back up.
And we have nothing to back up this dollar with.
But trust it, it's a piece of paper.
So you could, the states weren't super happy with this.
You don't say.
And by the 1865, at the end of the Civil War, the government would actually wind up printing 500 million greenbacks, which are equal to $7 billion today.
Oh my God.
Of unbacked money.
Of just monopoly money.
Paper. Obviously, the states start to challenge this, and in 1870, at a 4-3 ruling, the Supreme Court of the United States deems the act unconstitutional, and says that it's unconstitutional basically due to right of prevention of seizing property. Basically, they said that the government didn't have the right to force you to take this dollar at face value in exchange for your property because there's no guaranteed value to it.
Seems fair.
But unfortunately, on that same day, President Grant at this time nominated 2 new judges, and he promises to revisit the issue. And
we'll put a pin in that, boys.
And it is later overturned and ruled constitutional in a 5-4 ruling, which is why we have the great economy that we have today.
Hey, if you're rich, you're doing all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're fine. If you're not rich, well, it's your fault.
Sorry about you. Go out and vote.
Yep. Our last thing here is German President Paul von Hindenburg is going to abolish free expression of opinion on February 28th, 1933. God, I'm ending this on a great note here.
Super you always positive.
Do. I do. So under the advice of Chancellor Adolf Hitler, Hindenburg would issue the Reichstag Fire Decree of 1933 in response to the Reichstag Fire. So the Reichstag Fire happened just 4 weeks after Hitler was sworn in as Chancellor, and is blamed on Marinus van der Lubbe, who is a Dutch communist. The fire was then blamed on the Communist Party, and the Nazis used it as a pretense to say that the communists were attacking Germany, and therefore we need to get rid of all civil rights and liberties and freedom of speech and expression because the fucking communists are coming to take us over.
Yeah, that's the only logical action you can take.
So the Reichstag decree would strip away many of the civil liberties of the German citizens, and was widely used to imprison anyone who opposed the Nazi Party.
Well, but it was put in place to protect the German citizens, though. That's very important to know. It was for their protection.
Yeah, this is actually a good thing. Anytime we ever have something that comes up that's a bill or that says we need to up the smoking age to 21 for the protection of our children.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe we should question things just a scotch, because there's probably some ulterior motive behind it. So
no, I'm sorry. Unless you raise the enlistment age into the military to 21.
No,
it's not about protecting the
we're
18,
lowering
and 20-year-olds.
We're lowering that to 16, Johnny. Come on.
Yeah.
Old enough to hold a gun, old enough to go. So the list of civil liberties that were suspended under this was habeas corpus, the inviolability of residency, secrecy of the post and telephone, freedom of expression of the press and the public, and the right of the public to assemble, and the right of free association. So basically, you no longer have the right to free speech, you no longer have the right to free press, you no longer have the right to assemble, and you no longer have the right to associate with whatever group you decide to associate with.
I mean, so this just gave them control and power over everything anybody said or heard.
Yep.
Because if there's no free press, and if you're not allowed to speak out, that's to limit any sort of information that you don't want people to be speaking about.
Exactly. Well, and by the way, Paul von Hindenburg is not a Nazi. He was the president of Germany at the time. So he is the highest rank. He basically gives the chancellorship to Adolf to appease the Nazis at that time. And there was a lot of...
what harm could come from this?
And that's what he was thinking, what harm could come from it. And in his mind, he was probably thinking that, yeah, okay, our government, it would be the equivalent of, Congress being burned down in the United States. It's going to cause people to act slightly irrationally and do things they think are in the protection of the people, but not quite so much. And in fact, we actually have evidence now that shows that the Nazis actually burned down the Reichstag and blamed it on the communists.
And that's This Week in History.